We're going to move one note, one either half step or whole step every time we change chords, and we're going to create this beautiful etude that walks up the fretboard and changes through all of the chords and all of the shapes within the key. So you're going to end up using every inversion shape and every chord in the key all the way up the neck. I'm going to teach you this triad inversion voice leading exercise on the guitar. Studying triad inversions on the fretboard is incredibly valuable so we can see how chords connect together and how related so many chords are to each other. So many chords have similar overlapping notes, and if you just change one note, one half step or one whole step, you get a different chord. And to be able to really see that, understand it, feel it, hear it, it's very, very useful for our musicianship for a number of reasons. So let's get right into the etude, because this takes this exercise and this study of triad inversions and voice leading between them and turns it into something much more musical, and it's very doable. There are a few things we have to know first, so quickly I'll go over those and then we'll get right into the exercise. So here are the 4 things you need to know to be able to successfully practice this beautiful triad inversion voice leading exercise. Number 1 is just know the structure of the major scale. It's just 7 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then it goes back to 1, and there are half steps between 3 and 4 and 7 and 1. The rest of them are whole steps. I prefer thinking of it that way rather than whole step, half step, whole step, whole. Just think of 7 numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and where the half steps are. You're going to get practice with this because item number 2 to know is how to play that along one string. We're going to play it along string 2, string 3, and string 4. And we're going to do this exercise in the key of C. So you want to find fret 1 on string 2. This is the note C. This will be the number 1. So if you go down a half step, that's the number 7. So now I want you to play up and down on those 3 strings with this structure. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. You can go as high as you want if you have a guitar where you can play higher. 2, 1, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 7, 1. Do that on the other 2 strings that we're going to use, which is strings 3 and strings 4. This first number in the scale, string 3, the open string, is 5. So now we're going to go 5 to 6 whole step, 6 to 7 whole step, 7 to 1 half step, etc. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 7, 6, 5. Okay? You don't have to go that high. Go as high as your guitar allows you to do comfortably. And then we're going to do it on off the D string, which is number 2 in the scale. So we go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4. Be able to do that really well, understand that structure. It's worth practicing that if you don't have it down yet. And then the last thing is that we need to be able to see and know what all the letter names are of all of those. And it's quite simple because once you can do that structure up and down the strings with the numbers, the letters are just alphabetical. So if you start here with C, you just go up the alphabet: C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D. Obviously after G you start back with A, and then going backwards is a lot harder but really good for us to be able to do. D, C, B, A, G, F, E, D, C, B. So know how to identify those along those 3 strings. And the way we got there is knowing the number structure first and then just using the alphabet to find the letter names. Now we have everything we need to do this exercise successfully, and there are several levels to doing this exercise. They all sound the same, but you can work on identifying what you're playing in different ways depending on what you want to focus on. So you can do this exercise just playing the notes and therefore physically playing the shapes, or you can also really think of exactly what chord you're on as you go. Let's get into that. Now the typical way of working on triad inversions is to play a shape. Let's say we're going to do C major, and then you play the next inversion, and then the next inversion, and you drill them like this. Then you might choose a different chord, D minor, you play the next inversion, play the next shape. That's a very good thing to practice. I totally encourage that, but it doesn't connect together the chords in this way that is so gorgeous and has voice leading involved. So we're going to move one note, one either half step or whole step every time we change chords, and we're going to create this beautiful etude that walks up the fretboard and changes through all of the chords and all of the shapes within the key. So you're going to end up using every inversion shape and every chord in the key all the way up the neck. So we're going to start with this E minor shape. And then we're going to move one note by one half step or whole step every time we change a chord. And the first one we move is the top note, the second string in this case. Okay. And every time you move a note up, it has to be a note within that scale structure. That's why we had to practice that scale structure. So it has to stay within that key of C. Okay, now if you do that, you don't even have to think of the chord names. But if you want to think of the chord names, which is what you should do and take your time kind of getting there, the note you moved always lands on the root of the chord. So here we are, E minor, and then you move that top note up to the next note in the scale, and now that note is C. So if you're tracking what the letter names are, then this chord here is C. This is an inversion of C major. Okay, so we just moved the note on the second string up. Now we're gonna move the note on the third string up. So it's gonna go from this open note, which is G, and which is the 5 of the key, and it's gonna go up a whole step, because that's the next note in the scale that we practiced. Okay, so now the 3 chords we have at the beginning are this, E minor, moves up to C major. This middle note moves up. Whatever note that is the root. Okay, so if you identify it as A, which it is, then this is an A minor chord. Okay, now we're moving a note up on the lowest string that we're playing, the 4th string. And now this shape, and whatever we move to is the root. That note is F, this is F major. And then you just repeat that process, and it's absolutely phenomenal for our understanding of chords and how they connect and the fretboard and everything. So here's E minor, C major, A minor, F major. If you keep going, that's D minor. Oh, beautiful, that's B diminished. That note moved, that's the root there, that's B diminished. Then it goes G major, E minor, C major, A minor, F major, D minor, B diminished, G major. You get the idea. I'll play the rest from there without talking over it so you can hear it. I like to end up here on this C major chord just because the key is C, so it sounds like a nice ending spot. If you're playing on a nylon string guitar, you won't be able to reach that high. That's okay, go as high as you want to. Don't go back down, because we're gonna do another exercise that is the same thing, and we'll go back down in my next lesson. I'll do kind of a part 2 of this. Just go up and study how that works. Identify the chord names, identify making sure you're seeing the structure of the scale as you go, and it's just absolutely gorgeous, and you get all of those inversions in there and how they connect together. One more thing that might be really helpful to understand if you want to get the most out of this is just to make sure you understand the chord qualities through a key, that we have those numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and this is the structure of the major scale. Each one of those numbers has a chord built off of it. That's where these chords come from, and to really know, just have it memorized what the chord qualities are through that the one chord, the chord built off the 1 is major, the chord built off the 2 is minor, off the 3 is minor, off the 4 is major, off the 5 is major, off the 6 is minor, and off the 7 is diminished. Knowing that can really enhance this as well. And once you know that, then we can think about what's actually happening when we are moving that note by a half step or a whole step each time. What's happening is that we're on a chord, and then we go down a third in the key. So we start on E minor, we move that one note, one half step, and we move from E minor to C. So we're skipping a chord and moving down through the key to C. As we move another note up and we make A minor, we moved from C to A minor, that's going down a third. So you're going down a third through the key every time a chord changes. And it's interesting, we're going up a note, down a third, creating this very interesting and beautiful voice leading sound. Now we'll demonstrate the whole thing uninterrupted so you can hear how it sounds. You can play it however you want. I'm going to do it kind of with a certain plucking feel to it. You can do it differently for yourself. You can just pluck all of them, arpeggiate them, whatever you want. it's there for you to study and very beneficial. So here's the whole thing. If you want to reinforce that idea of what chords are in the key and work some more on chord theory, I recommend getting my chord chart called Chords with Color. It's all open string chords, but really beautiful options for chords that have the color tones, chord extensions built into them, but it's written out in a way through several keys that shows 1 chord, 2 chord, 3 chord, 4 chord in major key and in minor key. So it shows all of those relationships and connections. So if that's something you're wanting to get more experience with, definitely get my chord chart. It's called Chords with Color. There's a link to it in the top of the description, or you can go to soundguitarlessons.com/chordswithcolor to get that. Stay tuned for the next lesson that I'm going to put out, because I'm going to do part 2 of this etude where we're going to do the descending version of this, and it's slightly different. The rules are a little different, and it's going to move through the key in a slightly different way, but it'll allow us to do the same thing descending. But get some practice doing the ascending version first, and hope to see you in that next video. Take care, thanks for watching, and happy practicing.